have them. Do you have any questions on boundaries?
Well, I teach my clients about boundaries as far as protecting their energy and their time and the access to them. But outside of work, I think boundaries for women in general is it's hard. You always run into somebody, some idiot out there in the world who thinks they have the right to say or look at you a certain way. Doesn't happen as much now that I'm over 50, but still, it's just unsolicited whatever, How do you prevent that? Just share that it's not okay, and hopefully the culture adopts that thinking.
Well, so I think that's a really, like you asked like 6 questions right there. But the one in the middle that I heard kind of highlighted was, how do you prevent that? And I think that a lot of what you're talking about is connected. So that what you just said was, in your work life, you tell people to have boundaries around their time, which is a way of saying my time is important and it's valuable. I'm important and I'm valuable, and I have a right to choose yes and no. And that's really hard for a lot of us, period, and especially women. And so I take those same things into the streets. And I think one of the things that over this past year, when I was married, nobody ever touched me. Nobody ever came on to me. If I had polite conversation, a guy would be like, it would just always come up that I was married. And I dealt with zero sexual harassment for 15 years. And before that, I was a teenager, and didn't even know what sexual harassment was. So since becoming single, I've had to deal with sexual harassment, and I have found it extremely difficult, because for a woman to say no, she's attacked for being bitchy, for taking it the wrong way, for being snooty and thinking she's better than you. There's a zillion attacks used on a woman when she says, no, I don't, when she sets a boundary around sexual harassment, whether she's on an airplane or at a social party event. So I really spent months and months and months studying this. And I tried a lot of different things that didn't work very well. In the end, and this is so simple, but the magic words were, I don't want that. Mm-hmm. So whether I was getting casual touches that weren't casual, that were come-ons, the first thing I tried was, you don't have, I wanted to be like, don't touch me. Well, that's abrasive. That didn't work. Then you don't have permission to touch me. Now, as simply as, I don't want to be touched. People can't argue with that. And they'd be like, you shouldn't not want to be touched. It's one of those, so of all the ways that I've tested using my boundaries, that I don't want is the one that causes the least amount. There's just not much to push back on. It's just true. Like, I don't want to be touched. There's no judgment. So that's been, for me, that's how I've been working on maintaining my boundaries now that, and I think that's really important. It's now that I'm not a wife and men don't see me as property of another man, they see me as fair game, that as if I'm not an authority with the right to say F off.
Yeah, I think it's important to teach young women how to handle it in the workplace. Because as you're talking, I'm remembering my second job. So I was literally a year out of college. Because once I passed my CPA exam, I was like top of the list on the headhunters. Like, we got to move this person around. So I was there a year. I was at one job a year, went into the second job as a promotion. And my boss's boss would always stare at my chest when I walked in his office, to the point where I had to always bring folders with me. This is the only thing I could come up with. I'm 23 years old. And I'd walk around like this whenever I saw him, like a shield. And then I left a year later. But like, teaching young women how to handle it other than using a folder might be helpful.
And that's exactly why I'm doing this Facebook Live every week, because what a brilliant strategy, by the way. It was like, you did not have the skills. No one taught you, so you invented something of your own. And as women share their different skills, it's like, somebody says, oh, she did that in her life. I can do that in mine. And it just it sparks the creativity of solution shares. And that's also what I'm bringing out into the world with undiminished.me, is curating conversations like this where women get to share their solutions and say, how could we upgrade that? You know, we're smarter together than we ever are alone.